So we came across a writer from the Times of Israel named Eitan Chitayat, who wrote an incredible op-ed called Shalom. Well, we can't say the rest on the air, but it's awesome. Eitan was kind enough to join us on the Singer Financial Group Newsmaker Hotline to give us a first-hand perspective on how he and his countrymen are coping with this terrible war with Hamas. Eitan, thanks so much for coming on. What's going on in Israel?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy, and I have a family. You know, just like most people, I guess. And it has been more difficult than normal in Israel. Israel is a very wonderful country, and people think that it's this war-ravaged country, and it really isn't. When you go there, there's a lot to see, there's a lot to do. It's a very open society. We do have, and again, I'm not speaking as a politician, we do have issues. We have an issue of our neighbors who, for the most part, I think the governing bodies, for some countries, we've managed to make peace with, and we're trying to keep that peace. And with some other countries, the governing bodies, they don't want peace for us. Aside from the politics, though, it's a very normal country. It's a democracy. We have Arab Israelis in the government. Even a lot of people don't know this, but we have Arab people walking among us, and Christians. It's very diverse. Very strong gay community as well in Tel Aviv itself. And what happened, and I'll get back to your question, I just wanted to give a bit of context.
Yeah, this is great.
Hear
it's
Israel,
awesome,
and they don't understand that it's a country that is quite similar in values to the States and most Western countries. But it all of a sudden got very, very more traumatizing than usual when just over a month ago 3 boys were kidnapped, and these kids were teenagers, and they were kidnapped, and they were murdered in cold blood, and it was done by the Hamas, which is I don't think it's enough to call them a terrorist organization, because they have a charter. In their charter, it's an official charter. It is dedicated to the elimination of the state of Israel, which is my country, and also to kill Jews. They say it very, very in black and white. It's available for everyone to see. That's who we're dealing with. And then when we all of a sudden, unfortunately, an Israeli, an Arab boy was kidnapped and murdered by Israeli extremists in a horrific hate crime, and I'm very ashamed as an Israeli that it happened. That was the start of this kind of tit for tat, and but the tit for tat, it's always there because they are dedicated to our destruction. So what happened is they started firing rockets at the whole of, I wouldn't say the whole of Israel, but most of Israel. I live in Tel Aviv and in the States. I go back and forth, but I have a home in Tel Aviv, and it's quite terrifying. But I have to say, we don't have it as bad as the people in the south of Israel, which is around an hour and a half south of Tel Aviv. People don't seem to, it's not like 6 hours drive. They are getting bombarded every day for around 8 years now, with rocket attacks every day.
8 years.
Thousands upon thousands of rockets. And they have the same thing that you've been seeing in the news with the air raid sirens going, not the missile sirens going off and us running for cover. They live through that every day. So it's terrible. And it's also terrible that our country is being forced, and I say this, I think that we are being forced to take action, and we know that innocent civilians are dying, and it's terrible. And I think the Israeli public, hate seeing that and hate doing that. And it always sounds like you're defending the killing of people when you say this, but I don't think we would want to kill anyone. We don't want to kill anyone, but what are you meant to do? Damned if we do, damned if we don't.
You have to defend yourself.
So, I know I'm going off a bit, but it's kind of a big thing to talk about. I didn't even get into the motivation of writing what I wrote, but I don't know, maybe I should stop and you can
No. This is, I mean, that's exactly what we were hoping to hear from you, is just sort of, your personal experience and that of your fellow countrymen that are dealing with this and that have dealt with this for years. And so, and I think what we love about your writing is that you can really feel your frustration in your words. I mean, it's very easy to pick up on your passion, your anger, and your frustration. And so, and I would have to guess that that's part of what motivated you to finally put it down on paper.
And also we can relate, because I look at you and I think, you have a young child, and I have a young child, and so I think, if I lived in Tel Aviv, I would be you. I would. So I think he is me, and so this whole thing it's so awful, because when I see people in our country saying, pray for Hamas, I want to punch them in the face because I don't understand where this comes from.
Yeah,
well, I think that where it comes from really is it's ignorance, because I think that if most people knew the Hamas, and also the people who also want to destroy us to the north, the Hezbollah, and some other Al Qaeda or the ISIS.
Yeah,
they're very good with propaganda, because it's very easy to pull on the emotional strings when you see death, when you see a dead child, you see a dead woman, and I don't think that our dead are any more worthy than their dead. But one thing I do know is that we don't, as a policy, the country of Israel doesn't, as a policy, parade its dead on the media. It doesn't make an informed decision to use that as propaganda. We have much more boring propaganda, like the IDF, for example, will post pictures of missile site maps. It's boring. It's not as sexy.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're really winning the war. So when people say I'm down with Hamas, they kind of equate that with the liberation of the Palestinians, and no one wants the Palestinians to be free more than most Israelis, I would say. And I say most because I think that there are a few crazy ones in our society too, but it really is a few. I think no one wants their freedom more than us, because...
Eitan, can you hold on 1 second? We have to run to traffic really quick. So just 1 second. We'll be right back.
We're continuing our conversation on the Singer Financial Group Newsmaker Hotline with Eitan Chitayat, founder of Natie.com, Natie.com, and writer for the Times of Israel, who lives in Tel Aviv and the United States. Eitan, before we went to traffic, you were telling us that most Israelis want the Palestinian people to be free. Elaborate, if you would.
Because their freedom means our freedom. It means that we will be able to live in peace. When you look at the map of Israel, you see how tiny Israel is in a sea of Muslims. It's 1.7 billion Muslims and around 7 million Israelis. So they say that they want the Hamas, but do they really know what the Hamas is?
Exactly.
I don't think that they do, and I don't think that the media, and this is where the frustration came from.
Yeah.
I don't think that the media is helping, because when a friend of mine starts posting, a regular guy, by the way, the guy who I unfriended, he's not a bad guy, and I don't think he's an anti-Semite, and he's not anti-Zionist. He's just uninformed, and scratching the surface.
As many people are here in the States.
As many people are everywhere. I mean, the States is nothing if you compare it to what's going on in Europe. I mean, they're starting to equate. I mean, they're saying death to the Jews, and it's out. It's really out there now.
I mean, and with history not that long ago of the Holocaust, it just blows my mind to see that, to think that that's been so easily forgotten. And so that's why I think that's why your writing speaks to us and so many of our readers too, because we haven't forgotten that.
No, not at all.
And to us, it's not that, it's recent history, and so it's amazing to us that when you see signs like death to Israel today, in Europe, we're just like, what is happening?
Exactly.
It's tough for us because on the one hand we want that to stop. On the other hand, I think we want the Palestinian people who are the me. Just like that, you look at me and you go, well, he could be me. There are, I'd say, the vast majority of Palestinians, they could be me too. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you really want to help the Palestinians and the Israelis, but I think more the Palestinians, then people should be saying to the Palestinians, the Hamas is not helping you. The Hamas is killing you.
Yeah. How do they not see that?
They do. I just don't think it's as simple as, hey, let's just vote other people in. They're a terrorist organization. They kill people. They kill people of their own. They murder people. Like, if I want to demonstrate for peace, as I've done, if I want to make an animation for peace, which I don't know if you've shared, but I'd love it if you would. People are seeing me as some hothead, angry guy, and I'm actually not. I want peace more than anything. People would see the Hamas for what they are, then they would realize that they can actually help. Mm-hmm. They just have to tell the truth, and it's hard to tell the truth when the truth doesn't sell newspapers. I think the media is, and this, I'm so grateful that if you would have told me I don't know, even like a month ago, that I would ever be on a show called Chicks on the Right, most of my friends would have been like, "What are you doing?" But, you guys are great. It's not about politics of left or right in the conventional sense. This is literally, are you on the side of people who are potentially worse than the Nazis that just haven't gotten their way yet, or are you on the side of just life, and let's go have a hamburger, and let's have a barbecue, and let's let our people live.
And just straight up,
by the way.
No.
Well,
and that's the whole point. You're here.
And just straight up information. Getting information out there, which is, I think, what you're trying to get across. Just the truth, getting the truth out is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just subjective, at the end of the day, and there are a lot of people who will be listening to me and be going, "Yeah, but what about?"
Yeah.
And try fighting that. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Question, I'm just curious to know from your perspective, how is Netanyahu viewed amongst the majority of Israelis? Because we're huge fans of his. We often wish that he was our president. So I'm just curious if that same sort of admiration exists within Israel itself.
I didn't vote for him. I think that the country is really split. I don't think that we've had great leaders for since Rabin, actually, who Rabin was our prime minister, who was assassinated by a right-wing extremist, not an Arab, by an Israeli Jew. Netanyahu is you either love him or you hate him. A lot of the left-wing liberals say that he intentionally doesn't want an agreement with the Palestinians. A lot of people on the other side say that's ridiculous. But in the context of right now, for the last 5 or 6 weeks, I would say that the vast majority of people in Israel are in favor of his handling of the situation. Don't quote me on it, but 80% of the country are with him on this. But
and I can see that, because in times of war, it's kind of like when George W. was in office, everybody rallied around him.
Yeah, during 9/11, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So how can people find your columns, and where can they learn more about you?
I've opened a public profile on Facebook, so it's facebook.com, and you're going to laugh now, but facebook.com/Eitan Chitayat, which is EITANCHITAYAT.
Perfect.
And that's where I'm putting all of the stuff that I'm doing, in addition to the Times of Israel blog, which is timesofisrael.com.
Awesome. Great. It was such a joy to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Wonderful.
Wow, thank you so much, and for the opportunity. And please thank all your listeners for me, and for all people who want this to end as soon as possible. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Eitan Chitayat, writer for the Times of Israel. You're with the Chicks. Stay with us.